Hello folks, Stevie B here. Hope you're all doing well. In this video, I want to talk about the importance of crafting a thoughtful and effective submission to a music library. In today's competitive landscape, it's really important to consider some critical details that are going to give your application an edge and help it to stand out. The realm of music licensing is a vast and ever-evolving industry, and in many ways, it's a relationship business, especially if you're dealing with TV and production libraries that are often run by small and dedicated teams. Similarly, if your involvement extends to publishers, sync agents, or music supervisors, the relational aspect becomes all the more vital. So the following discussion will center on key considerations to bear in mind when presenting yourself, whether directed at an individual or a music library. So before we start, I just want to quickly plug the Production Music Academy. This is where I host all my genre-based production courses and track breakdown videos. This is where you can get constructive feedback on your work from both myself and an incredibly talented and supportive community of composers from all over the world. Sign up today and get instant access to my free Intro to Music Licensing course. That link is in the description below. Hit me up in the comments or over email if you have any questions at all. All right, so I want to start this discussion off taking a look at some of the better-known royalty-free music libraries like Artlist, Motion Array, MusicVine, Storyblocks, Epidemic Sound, and MusicBed. These libraries are among the most popular with content creators and indie filmmakers. They offer very high-quality music. Some of them also license video footage, photographs, and other assets. All of them operate a little differently and have their own unique brand identity. And all of them are competitive markets with many contributors. I want to distinguish these libraries from the more commonly known stock music libraries like Audio Jungle, Pond5, 123RF. Those libraries have been around a bit longer and are still relevant to this discussion, but in the last 5 years or more, there's been a big shift in demand for super high quality music at affordable prices in the form of a monthly subscription. Libraries like Artlist have risen to dominate the royalty-free landscape with high quality assets, clever marketing, slick branding, and affordable prices. And some of the older stock libraries like Audio Jungle have kind of struggled to catch up and stay relevant in today's marketplace. But make no mistake, they're still alive and well, but I think it's safe to say that their contributors aren't making the money they used to be making on those older platforms. Whereas earnings potential is a lot higher on the new wave of royalty-free libraries that have come to dominate the landscape. In terms of applying to royalty-free music libraries, many of them have an application link on the website. Often you'll find that submission link on the bottom of the homepage. If you scroll to the bottom of the Artlist homepage, for example, you'll find a link to get the application process started. Not every library keeps their doors open to applications at all times. Some libraries open them periodically, and some libraries you might have to do a bit of digging to get in touch with the curators. There's a few really important things to keep in mind when you're applying to any music library. First and foremost, I think it's really important to understand a library's brand and to consider how your application would fit the picture. So let's just take Artlist, for example. There's a clear emphasis on the visual representation of the artist. Each song links back to an artist profile and a bio. And also important to note is that, like many other libraries, they have a public catalog of music which you can filter by staff picks or by most popular. So if I were going to apply, I can easily get a sense of what the curators are interested in and what music is selling well on the platform currently. This information is going to inform my application, and I think it's safe to assume that from their end, not only are they going to want to hear some great music, of course, but it's going to help if I can show some degree of experience in my application. So ideally, that would look like a personal website where I can showcase some of my work and also link to my social profiles. All of which serve to represent my experience and my personal brand. You don't have to be on every social media platform, nor do you need a big following. But for me personally, my website, my Spotify, my Instagram, and my YouTube channel all comprise a picture of who I am, what I look like, what I'm all about, what my strengths are as a musician and composer. And anyone who receives an application from me is going to get the immediate impression that I take myself seriously and that I'm capable of doing professional work. Many of these better known royalty-free music libraries receive applications constantly. So being able to show a certain degree of experience is going to give you an edge. And at the end of the day, the quality of your music is obviously the most important factor, but I really do think that it's worth taking some time to curate your presence online through a personal website and social media. Okay, so let's chat about getting in touch with more niche, specialized TV and production music libraries. These types of libraries are not typically catering to the average content creator or indie filmmaker. Rather, they often have close working relationships with companies and music supervisors that work on television shows, films, and other larger budget productions that have specific needs. So, of course, these libraries are also receiving a lot of submissions, and many of them are run by very small teams. It's imperative to keep that in mind because often they could take a little while to get back to you. Some of the things that we discussed previously about applying to royalty-free libraries, I think they're important to bear in mind with respect to production libraries as well. I think having an online presence and a website will only serve to strengthen your application, and taking some time to study a library's catalog is always important too. But I want to focus on writing a great introductory email here because there's a few very important things to keep in mind, and the following points apply when reaching out to anyone in the industry for that matter. So depending on the library, of course, they may have a link to apply or send them music, or otherwise they may just list an email contact. So let's say for the sake of this discussion, we're reaching out over email. Here's some things to consider. Let's talk about email signatures. Before anything else, I want to point out that every email I send has a signature that looks like this. Really easy to set this up in Gmail. Every email provider should have the ability to set up a signature. It looks professional. It links directly to my website, my socials, and people do click on it. I can tell that a lot of my website traffic comes from this signature. I really think that it's worth setting this up before you start sending out emails to libraries. The next thing to consider is personalization, personalizing your email. And this usually takes a bit of research. What I would take into consideration is who is running the library? Who are you reaching out to? Figure out names if possible. If it's not listed on the library, you can always, do a search on LinkedIn. You might find something there. Look into what types of placements the library is getting, who they're working with. Often they'll list this kind of thing on the website. And in general, you want to get as much information about the library as you can so that when you reach out to them, you're referencing their work and showing that you've taken an interest in their catalog and have reason to believe that you'd be a good fit for the library. So taking into account that music library owners and staff are super busy, they work hard, they receive tons of submissions, let's just write an email together that's concise, professional, to the point, and not wasting anybody's time. It might look something like this. So we'll start with our subject. It can just be simple, music submission or library name, whatever it is. So if you have a personal name, that's great, or otherwise just say, hi there, my name is Stephen Bedall. I am a composer based in Vancouver, Canada. I recently came across your catalog and I wanted to reach out and ask if you are currently accepting new music. Okay, so just a nice polite introduction. And at this point, you want to add some kind of personalization, and this can come in many forms. So let's just take an example here. Let's say I want to apply to Audio Network. Okay, I'm cruising through their catalog. I'm taking some mental notes, and I find this, hip hop beats tasking playlist. And I'm feeling like the music that I'm going to send them would fit right in. Like I said, most music libraries have a public catalog that you can search. There's tons of albums here. Then there's playlists at the bottom. Either way, you could say something like, I was listening through your hip hop tasking playlist and thought I'd send along my own playlist of unreleased hip hop tracks that could be a great fit for your catalog. So it's subtle, but I'm adding a bit of personalization there, showing that I've done some listening to the music that they have on the library, and then I've taken an interest in their catalog, and I think that my music would be a good fit. Let's take another example. Looking at a different library here, this is Signature Tracks. You go to their work, and you can see that they have all of these kind of trailers and clips featuring music from the library. And if we click on some of these, then you get a sense of what kind of work they're doing with shows and what kind of music is working for them. So this short trailer for Below Deck is, it's showcasing some high energy pop tracks. Let's say I'm sending them a playlist of like my best pop tracks. We could write something like, I watched your Below Deck trailer and thought I'd send along an unreleased playlist of high energy pop tracks that would be well suited to the show and a great fit for your catalog. So again, just injecting a bit of personalization. And yeah, just thinking out loud here, the other night I was watching an episode of Alone, and I noticed at the end of the episode, the credits listed one of the music libraries that they sourced music from. I can't remember the name of the library right now, but let's say I'm reaching out to them. I could say something like, I'm a huge fan of the show Alone, and I noticed that whatever the library name is, I noticed that library name was listed in the credits for some of the trailer music used in season 5, just as an example. I'd like to send you a playlist of my own unreleased trailer music that I believe would be a great fit for the show and your catalog. So there's a few examples of, how to personalize an email. And then of course you want to provide them the link, and we could just say, when you have a moment, I'd love for you to check out my latest work. Here's a private link, and enter your link. And then always nice to, let them know that you appreciate their time. Say, thank you kindly for your consideration and look forward to hearing back from you, and get rid of all the spelling errors. Sincerely, Steve. And then of course you see my signature at the bottom here, so they can go investigate me further if they want. Okay, so, keep the emails short and to the point. No one has time to read your life story. Remember to just be really considerate of the recipient's time and add something personal. It goes a long way. Anything that even remotely feels copy-pasted is not good. You want to avoid that at all costs. So aside from the email, let's talk about the submission itself. As for how many tracks are in your playlist, I don't think there's a magic number. Some libraries are happy to accept 1 track at a time. Some prefer smaller submissions, say 2 or 3 tracks. I know from working with Artlist that they like smaller submissions. 2 or 3 tracks is totally fine, and they find it easier to market at that size. I think having 5 to 7 excellent tracks in a particular style or genre is a great place to start. I should also mention that I don't think that sending out a handful of tracks that sound disconnected from one another and stylistically all over the place is ever a good idea. I don't recommend doing that. Furthermore, I think once you have the music together, taking the time to, just put some artwork together for your playlist is easier than ever. I often use some of the templates provided from Adobe Express, or use some of the royalty-free artwork from Unsplash. Also, I would make sure to have some compelling titles that align with the musical style. Show that you've put some thought and some work into it. Most importantly, whatever you do, make sure that you're sending out a streaming link. Never ever send songs as attachments to your email. Always make sure that your music is 1 click away from being able to be streamed. I personally use Disco. It's a fantastic playlist app that looks super pro and works beautifully. When I send out a playlist, it looks like this. There's ways to customize the playlist so the recipient can see metadata and download the tracks if need be. This is what I use with the publishers that I'm currently working with. And if that's not in the budget, I don't think that there's anything wrong with sending out like a private SoundCloud link. However, I'm always wary about the recipient having to endure ads before listening to my music. So that's something to keep in mind. So just to recap, I think that there's a lot of preparation that goes into crafting a great submission to a music library, or if you're just reaching out to an individual who's getting a lot of similar emails vying for their attention. Again, music quality is always the most important factor, but when a music library decides they want to work with you, just remember that they're making an investment in you. So, you should make it abundantly clear to them that you're someone who's worth their time and effort. Nothing says that better than demonstrating a great work ethic and showing some attention to detail, whether that's a great website, a Spotify profile, a curated playlist of music with artwork. Just remember to put in that extra effort because people will notice. All right, I think that's it for this video. Thanks so much for listening, and I'm wishing you all well. Let me know if there's anything that I forgot in the comments. And as always, would love to hear what you guys think. Appreciate you guys. Happy composing. I'll see you around.